Welcome back to Saltwater Stories. If this is your first time with us, we're really glad you're here.
We really are.
So let's get ready for today's story by throwing on a warm winter coat and cozying up with a nice warm mug of hot chocolate.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
Right. Now take a slow, deep breath with me, and let's begin.
Imagine a place where the wind can sing louder than the ocean.
A place where the sun can disappear for months and then shine all day without ever setting.
The air is so cold it sparkles.
The sea is not just water, but a shifting puzzle of ice that cracks, drifts, and reforms with every passing season.
Out there, survival is a story written in patience.
Every sound matters. Every scent carries meaning.
Every step across the frozen surface could lead to a feast or to a long, hungry wait.
Beneath the ice, life is moving. Seals slip through dark water.
Tiny plankton bloom in bursts of sunlight.
The Arctic Ocean breathes in and out with the rhythm of the seasons.
And somewhere on that vast, white horizon, a powerful shape moves almost silently across the snow.
Today, we journey to the top of the world.
To meet the great white wanderer of the sea ice.
The polar bear.
It really is the icon of the North, the king of the Arctic. And honestly, looking at all the research and the stories we have to go through today, I think we're going to find out that almost everything we think we know about this animal is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, nice pun to start us off.
I couldn't resist.
But you're right. I was looking through the notes before we started, and I found this incredible fact that just completely shifted my perspective right out of the gate.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Well, we always think of bears as these forest creatures, right? Like a black bear raiding a trash can, or maybe a grizzly catching salmon in a river.
That's definitely the classic image we all grew up with.
But the polar bear is so different that scientists don't even classify it as a land animal. I was reading that because they depend so heavily on the ocean for their food and their habitat, they are actually classified as marine mammals.
That is absolutely correct. They're in the exact same legal and scientific category as whales, dolphins, seals, and manatees.
Which is just wild to me.
It is. Their scientific name, Ursus maritimus, literally translates from Latin to sea bear.
A sea bear.
Yeah, and that distinction is so important because it changes how we view them. They aren't just a land animal that happens to like swimming. They are a creature of the sea that just happens to walk on frozen water.
A sea bear.
Yeah.
And today's adventure happens to coincide with a very special day that happened last Friday, February 27th, International Polar Bear Day.
Oh, that's right.
So the timing couldn't be better to really unpack what makes this animal tick.
It is the perfect time. And since we're calling them sea bears, we really have to talk about what it takes to survive in their sea. Because, this isn't a tropical lagoon we're talking about. This is the Arctic.
Right. And to survive there, you have to be built incredibly tough. I want to start with the sheer scale of this animal.
Oh, the size is unbelievable.
I think because they look so fluffy in pictures or we see them as cute little plush toys in stores, we kind of underestimate them. But I was looking at the measurements we have here.
The numbers are staggering.
They really are. We are talking about the largest land carnivore on planet Earth.
Without question. If we look at a full-grown adult male polar bear, the weight range is just massive. They can weigh up to 1,760 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, that is roughly 800 kilograms.
I was trying to visualize that earlier.
Yeah.
1,760 pounds. That is practically the weight of a small car. Or, my favorite comparison from the reading, a grand piano.
A grand piano is a great comparison, but imagine a grand piano that has the agility to run, swim, and climb over massive ice ridges.
That's a terrifying piano.
It really is, and it's not just the weight, it's the height.
Yeah, the height is what really scares me.
Right, so if a male bear stands up on his hind legs, which they actually do a lot to get a better view or to smell the air, he can stand 10 feet tall. That's 3 meters.
Okay, so let's put that in perspective for you guys listening. Standard ceilings in a house are usually about 8 feet.
Right, so if a polar bear was standing up in your living room, he would be hunched over, hitting his head on the ceiling.
Oh my goodness.
Or if he was outside your house, he could look directly into a second-story bedroom window without even having to jump. He would just be standing there looking in.
That is both a completely majestic and a slightly terrifying image.
It definitely commands respect. Now, we should probably mention from the notes that there is a pretty big difference between the boys and the girls.
Yes, the sexual dimorphism.
Exactly. The females are usually significantly smaller, often about half the size of the males.
Okay.
But even then, half a grand piano is still a 600 or 700 pound animal. It's still a giant.
Absolutely. So we have this massive creature, and the very first thing you notice when you look at it is that coat. It's just iconic. It's that beautiful creamy white that blends right in with the snow.
It is iconic. But I have a trick question for you.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
If I asked you to describe the color of a polar bear's fur to an artist, what color would you tell them to use? White.
I mean, yeah, I definitely grab the white paint. Maybe a little yellow for the shadows or some stains, but mostly white.
And that is exactly where your eyes would be tricking you, because according to the biology reports we have here, polar bear fur isn't white. It's not even pigmented.
See, I read this in the research, and I honestly had to reread it 3 times just to make sure I wasn't going crazy.
Yeah.
The fur is transparent.
Completely clear, pigment-free.
How does that even work? Like, if I look at a window, it's clear, and I can see right through it. If the bear is covered in clear hair, why don't they look invisible? Or why don't we just see the skin underneath?
It all comes down to physics and optics. Think about a cloud for a second. A cloud is made of tiny water droplets, which are just clear water, right?
Right.
But when you pile billions of those clear droplets together in the sky, they scatter the sunlight. The light bounces around so much inside that mass of water that it reflects back to our eyes as white.
Oh, I see.
Polar bear fur works the exact same way. Each individual hair is a hollow tube, almost like a microscopic clear drinking straw.
A hollow drinking straw. Okay, I'm picturing that.
When sunlight hits that hollow, clear hair, it bounces around inside the tube. It scatters all over the place. And this scattering effect is what we perceive as the color white.
That is amazing.
It is. It's essentially a massive optical illusion.
So they're basically wearing an invisibility cloak that just happens to look like snow because of how light physics works.
Exactly. And that hollow structure isn't just there for camouflage, it's also for insulation. Air is a fantastic insulator. By trapping air inside the hair shaft itself, they are adding another layer of warmth right against their bodies.
That is brilliant engineering. Yeah. But here's the part that really blew my mind when I dug into the anatomy section. If you could somehow shave a polar bear, which let's just go on record right now and say nobody should ever try to do.
Yes, please do not try to shave a polar bear. Highly unrecommended.
But if you did, you wouldn't find pink skin underneath or white skin.
No, you absolutely wouldn't. You would find that they are jet black.
Completely black skin.
From nose to tail. And there's a very specific functional reason for this based entirely on thermodynamics. Think about when you wear a black t-shirt on a hot sunny day versus a white t-shirt.
Oh, the black t-shirt gets way hotter. It absorbs all the heat.
Exactly. Black absorbs solar radiation. So the polar bear has this incredible integrated system. The clear fur lets the sunlight pass right through it, almost like little fiber optic cables, sending the light straight down to the skin.
And then the black skin catches it.
Right. The black skin absorbs that heat energy from the sun to help keep the bear warm in sub-zero temperatures.
It's literally a solar heating system.
It is a walking biological solar panel.
That is just, nature is amazing. So you have the camouflage on the outside and the heater on the inside. But, I mean, we are talking about the Arctic here. The air can be minus 40 degrees. The water is freezing. A solar panel skin just isn't going to be enough.
No, especially not when they are swimming. Water conducts heat away from the body about 25 times faster than air does. So if you jump in the Arctic Ocean, even with a great fur coat, you are going to freeze very quickly.
So they need a wetsuit.
And they have one, the best wetsuit in the world. It's called blubber.
Blubber. It's such a fun word to say, but it's very serious business for them. I was looking at the cross-section diagrams in our source material. This isn't just a little bit of belly fat.
Not at all. This is a highly specialized layer of adipose tissue that can be up to 4.5 inches thick.
4.5 inches.
That's about 11 centimeters. Imagine wrapping your entire body in a dense layer of fat that thick.
It's like wearing a mattress.
It really is. And it insulates them so incredibly well that, and this is a fascinating point from the metabolic studies we have, polar bears are actually almost heat-proof from the inside.
What do you mean by that?
Their internal body heat literally cannot escape through the blubber. It traps everything inside.
Well, that's great for swimming in ice water.
It's critical for swimming, but it actually creates a huge problem for them on land.
Oh, really? What kind of problem?
Overheating.
In the Arctic?
In the Arctic.
Okay.
Because that insulation is so good, if a polar bear runs too fast or exerts too much energy on a day that isn't super freezing, they can actually suffer from heat stroke.
You're kidding?
I'm completely serious. They are so well insulated that they have to move slowly and deliberately to keep from literally cooking themselves from the inside out. It's why you often see them plodding along so slowly in nature videos. They aren't being lazy, they are thermally regulating.
That is fascinating. So they are built for the cold to such an extreme degree that being warm is actually dangerous for them.
Exactly. And that blubber serves a second, equally important purpose in the water, too. Fat is lighter than muscle and bone.
Oh, buoyancy.
Yes. That 4-inch layer of blubber acts exactly like a life jacket. It makes the bear incredibly buoyant. They can float comfortably at the surface without having to paddle constantly to stay up.
Which saves energy.
A ton of energy. This allows them to swim for miles and miles, sometimes hundreds of miles, without drowning from exhaustion.
It's the absolute perfect design for a sea bear. But eventually, they do have to get out of the water and walk on the ice. And walking on ice is incredibly slippery. I mean, I slip on my driveway if there's just a tiny patch of frost.
We all do. But the polar bear has specialized gear for that too. Let's take a look at their paws.
The paws are massive.
They are dinner plates, literally the size of dinner plates. A large male's paw can easily be 12 inches across.
And why are they so big? Is it just because the bear itself is big?
It's all about weight distribution. Think about snowshoes for a minute. If you try to walk on deep snow wearing high heels, you sink straight to the bottom.
You post hole. It's exhausting.
Right. But if you strap on big, wide snowshoes, your weight is spread out over a much larger area and you just float on top of the snow.
Makes sense.
The polar bear's massive paws lower the pounds per square inch that they exert on the ground. This lets them walk on snow without sinking, but even more importantly, it lets them walk on really thin sea ice without crashing through.
That has been a huge advantage when you're hunting seals on fragile ice.
Oh, it's huge. But size alone isn't enough for traction. For that, we have to look closely at the bottom of the foot.
The soles of their shoes, basically.
Exactly. If you look at the black pads on a polar bear's paw, they aren't smooth like a dog's paw. Under a microscope, they are completely covered in hundreds of tiny, soft bumps. Scientists call them papillae.
Papillae. That sounds exactly like something you have on your tongue.
It's the exact same word. Your tongue has papillae. But on a polar bear's foot, these little bumps act just like the tread on a high-end winter tire. They create micro-friction against the ice.
So they literally have built-in non-slip socks.
They do. Plus, they have rough fur growing between the toes and all over the bottom of the foot to grab the snow. And they have short, thick, curved claws that act like ice picks. So they essentially have snowshoes, non-slip socks, and crampons, all built into one single foot.
And paddles.
And paddles. The toes are slightly webbed, so when they dive into the water, those dinner plates become massive oars. They use the front paws to pull themselves through the water, and their back legs just trail behind them like a rudder to steer.
It's a complete package. Every single inch of this animal, from the clear fur to the black skin to the bumpy feet, is engineered for one specific environment.
It is. And that environment, the sea ice, is where I want to take everyone next, because I think there is a huge misconception that the ice is just empty space.
Yeah, I think a lot of people picture it like a frozen parking lot. Just white and flat and mostly dead.
But the sources we have tell a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
The sea ice isn't a parking lot at all. It's actually a garden.
A garden. Okay, you are going to have to explain that one. How do you have a garden in a block of frozen salt water?
It starts with how the ice actually forms. When ocean water freezes, the salt doesn't fit into the new ice crystal structure, so the ice literally pushes the salt out as it freezes.
Okay, basic chemistry so far.
But that highly concentrated salty water, which we call brine, gets trapped in these tiny little veins and channels inside the ice block. It creates a microscopic winding network of tunnels.
Like a little ant farm inside the ice cube.
That is the perfect way to picture it. And inside those salty little tunnels, life finds a way. Tiny microscopic algae, specifically things called diatoms, start to grow right inside the ice.
Inside the solid ice?
Inside the ice, and especially on the very bottom layer of the ice where it touches the liquid ocean water. In the spring, when the sun finally returns to the Arctic, the sunlight hits that clear ice, penetrates down through it, and these algae just bloom.
Wow.
They turn the entire underside of the ice a sort of golden brown or green color.
So the ice basically has a layer of grass growing on the ceiling.
That is exactly it. It is an upside-down pasture. And this algae is the foundation of the entire Arctic food web.
So walk us through this chain. We have the algae. Who eats the algae?
Tiny creatures called zooplankton. Think of them like microscopic shrimp or little ocean bugs. They graze on the algae right there in the brine channels.
Okay, that's step 2.
Then you have the fish, specifically the Arctic cod. The Arctic cod is a keystone species up there, and it eats the zooplankton.
Step 3.
Then you have the seals, ringed seals, bearded seals. they swim along and eat the cod.
Step 4.
And finally, walking on top of this massive floating garden, patiently waiting for the seal, is the polar bear.
Step 5. That connects the giant bear directly to the microscopic algae.
It absolutely does, and that's exactly why the bear is classified as a marine mammal. It is feeding on energy that comes entirely from the ocean, processed straight through this ice-based food web. If you take away the ice, you take away the algae, and that whole tower just collapses.
It really paints a picture of the bear not just standing on the ice, but being a fundamental part of the ice.
Absolutely, and the ice itself is very dynamic. It's not just one big, boring sheet. In fact, scientists have this wonderful, highly specific vocabulary for the different stages of ice formation.
Oh, I saw this in the notes. I love these terms. Let's run through them because a lot of them sound like breakfast food.
They really do. So when the ocean first starts to freeze, the surface gets kind of slushy. It looks like a soup full of loose crystals. Scientists call this Brazil ice.
Brazil ice. It sounds like a fancy frozen coffee drink.
Yeah, I'll have a large caramel Brazil, please.
It totally does. And then as the Brazil calms down and starts to thicken together, it creates this matte, soapy look on top of the water. It actually looks exactly like a dark oil slick.
And that is called grease ice.
Which is very descriptive, if not very appetizing.
Right. And then as the wind blows and the ocean waves bump these slushy bits of ice together, they start to form these round, floating discs with raised edges. They look exactly like white pancakes floating on the dark water.
Pancake ice.
Yes, pancake ice. It's a real, legitimate scientific term.
I just love that a very serious glaciologist has to write the words pancake ice in their peer-reviewed reports.
Oh, that's great. And finally, when the pancakes freeze together completely into a solid, continuous sheet that bends slightly with the ocean swells, we call it nihilus. And eventually, that nihilus thickens into the hard pack ice that the bears use as a highway.
So the bear is out there navigating this constantly shifting landscape of pancakes and grease and solid sheets. And they are looking for one thing, a seal.
The ringed seal is their absolute main prize.
But the Arctic is huge. It's millions of square miles of blowing white snow.
Yeah.
How does a bear actually find a seal that is hiding under the water or buried under the snow?
They lead entirely with their nose. The polar bear's sense of smell is legendary. It is arguably the best nose in the entire animal kingdom.
Better than a bloodhound.
Oh, far better. Let's use an analogy for everyone listening. If you walk into a bakery, you smell the fresh bread, right?
Sure, or the donuts.
But you have to be standing inside the store or maybe right outside the front door to smell it. A polar bear can smell a seal from a kilometer away.
Wow.
That's over half a mile away.
That is just hard to comprehend.
And it's not just smelling them through the open air. They can smell a seal pup that is hiding inside a snow cave, buried under 3 feet of compacted snow. They can smell straight through the snowpack.
That is basically X-ray vision, but with their nose.
It is. They use the wind to their advantage.
Yeah.
You will often see polar bears walking crosswind, meaning they are walking perpendicular to the direction the wind is blowing.
Oh, I see.
They are cutting across the breeze, just waiting to catch a scent plume. Once they hit that invisible trail of scent in the air, they immediately turn into the wind and follow it straight to the source.
Okay, so the incredible nose leads them to the right spot, but the seal is in the water, the bear is up on the ice. How do they actually catch it?
This is where the patience part of the story comes in. The technique is called still hunting.
Still hunting.
Because the seal has to breathe. Even though it lives mostly in the water, it's a mammal, so it maintains these small breathing holes, called egglets, in the thick ice. The bear finds one of these holes, and then it just waits.
Just waits.
It might wait for an hour, it might wait for 10 hours, it might wait for an entire day.
A whole day, just standing there in the freezing wind.
Standing, or sometimes lying completely flat, but perfectly still. They cannot make a single sound. The seal is incredibly sensitive to vibration in the water. If the bear crunches the snow even a little bit, the seal won't come up.
That requires a level of mental discipline that is just hard to imagine. I get fidgety if the microwave takes too long to pop my popcorn.
It's a survival meditation. And actually, here is where we need to bust a very famous myth.
Oh, I love a good myth bust. Lay it on me.
So you might have heard the story that polar bears cover their black noses with their white paws to hide in the snow while they are hunting.
Yes, I have absolutely heard that. It's a classic cartoon image. Like if I cover my nose, you can't see me.
It is a very cute story, but according to every single biologist and indigenous hunter we have records from, it is simply not true.
It's not true at all.
It has never been documented in the wild. They don't cover their noses. They just stay very low to the ice and very still. Their white coat does all the work for them.
So the nose stays out?
The nose stays out. And when that seal finally exhales, when the bear hears that sudden whoosh of breath at the hole, the reaction time is lightning fast. They can pull a 150-pound seal right up through a tiny hole in the ice with one swipe of that massive paw. It is an absolute explosion of power after hours of complete silence.
Now, I have a big question about the menu here.
Right.
Why seals? We talk about them being sea bears, but other bears like grizzlies eat berries, roots, moths, salmon. Why can't a polar bear just go on land and eat a nice salad for a few weeks?
It all comes down to what biologists call calorie math.
Calorie math. Okay, break that down for us.
The polar bear is living in the absolute coldest environment on Earth. Just keeping their massive body at 98.6 degrees takes an unbelievable amount of energy. They are burning fuel constantly just to exist.
Right.
To replace that burned fuel, they need high-density energy. And in nature, the most dense form of energy you can get is fat.
Blubber.
So a diet of berries and roots just doesn't pack enough punch.
Not even close. Let's look at the numbers from a nutritional study I found in our source notes. This really puts it in perspective for you. To get the exact same amount of energy provided by eating one single ringed seal,
Okay, one seal.
a polar bear would have to hunt down and eat 1.5 caribou, which requires a lot of running. And remember what we said about running.
Overheat. Right, bad idea.
Or to match that one seal, they would have to catch and eat 74 geese.
74 geese, catching one goose is hard enough, they fly.
Exactly.
Oh.
Or if they wanted to stick to a plant-based diet, they would have to eat, and this is a real, scientifically calculated number, 3 million crowberries.
3 million tiny little berries.
You physically couldn't even do it. Imagine just trying to count to 3 million, let alone eat that many berries.
You would literally starve to death while you're eating. You would burn more calories walking from bush to bush and chewing than you would ever get back from the berries themselves. It is a massive net loss of energy.
That makes it so incredibly clear. They aren't just being picky eaters out there. They are biologically locked into this highly specialized diet. They need the seal blubber to keep their batteries charged.
Exactly. They are hypercarnivores. They are true specialists.
So speaking of building up batteries and growing, let's shift gears and talk about the cubs. Because the way a polar bear starts its life is almost unbelievable compared to how big they eventually get.
Oh, it is the most extreme growth spurt in the entire mammal world. We talked about Mom earlier. She's a 600 or 700-pound giant.
Right. Half a grand piano.
She digs a den in a deep snowdrift, usually in late autumn. The snow acts as a perfect insulator, trapping her body heat inside, so inside the den it can be 30 or 40 degrees warmer than the freezing air outside.
That actually sounds pretty cozy.
In the middle of winter, she gives birth. And the babies, they weigh about 1 pound.
1 pound. That is the size of a block of butter from the grocery store.
Or a small guinea pig. They are tiny, completely blind, toothless, and they have almost no fur to protect them. If you held one, it would fit perfectly in the palm of your hand.
How in the world does a 1 pound hairless guinea pig turn into a 1,000-pound apex predator?
It's all about the milk.
Is it like super milk?
It is essentially rocket fuel for bears. To give you a comparison, human milk or cow's milk, the stuff we drink every day is mostly water and sugar, with about maybe 3 or 4% fat.
Okay, 3 or 4%.
Polar bear milk is about 30% fat. It is incredibly rich and thick. It is literally like drinking heavy whipping cream for every single meal.
Wow, I can feel my arteries clogging just thinking about that.
Because of that ridiculously high-fat diet, the cubs grow explosively fast. By the time they finally break out of the den in the spring, which is just a few months later, they have gone from 1 pound to 20 or 25 pounds.
That is remarkably fast.
They have to be big enough to survive the cold. Because once they leave that warm den, childhood is pretty rough.
Right.
They have to follow Mom out onto the sea ice and start learning the ropes immediately.
So what exactly is school like for a polar bear cub?
It is the ultimate school of hard knocks. They stay by Mom's side for about 2.5 years. For the first year, they are mostly just watching her hunt and playing.
But playing is a form of learning, right? Like practicing.
Absolutely. When you see two cubs wrestling with each other in a nature documentary, it looks really cute. But they are actually building vital muscle. They are learning balance on the slippery ice. When they pounce on a floating chunk of ice, they are practicing the exact pounce they will use to catch a seal later in life.
And do they communicate while they do this? Does Mom talk to them?
They are generally very quiet animals again. Silence is their main hunting strategy, but they do have a specific language. For example, If a cub wants to play, they do what biologists call a head wag. They just shake their head back and forth at another bear like, hey, come chase me.
I love that. Little invitation to play.
If they want to share food, they do a very gentle nose-to-nose greeting. It's very polite. It's their way of asking, may I have a bite of that? But if mom is worried, maybe there is a big dangerous male bear nearby or a wolf pack, she makes a very distinct sound called chuffing.
Chuffing. What does that sound like?
It's a rapid huffing breath sound, like a chuff, chuff, chuff. It basically means stop whatever you are doing right now, stick close to my side, trouble is coming.
It sounds like they're very attentive, caring mothers.
They are fiercely protective. They will fight off anything to keep those cubs safe. But despite all that fierce protection, it's a very hard life out there. And it's a life that humans are still trying very hard to fully understand.
And that brings us perfectly to the human connection in all of this. We have modern scientists studying them, sure, but we also have people who have known these bears a lot longer than Western science has.
Yes, we cannot tell the true story of the polar bear without honoring the indigenous peoples of the Arctic, specifically the Inuit.
They've lived alongside these giant bears for thousands of years.
Exactly. In Inuktitut, the polar bear is called Nuk. And Nanook isn't just an animal to be hunted for food or feared. In their traditional stories and culture, the bear is a very powerful spirit. It is deeply respected as being wise, highly intelligent, and having a soul that is very similar to a human's.
I remember reading a fascinating story in the notes about bears actually using tools, or at least cleverly using their environment to hunt.
Yes, for years, Western scientists were very skeptical of this, but Inuit hunters have long told stories of bears picking up heavy chunks of ice and actually throwing them at walruses to knock them out.
That is just incredible, throwing ice blocks.
And recently, scientists have actually started to observe and document behavior that backs this up. It shows that these aren't just mindless, instinct-driven eating machines. They are complex problem solvers.
And I imagine the collaboration between the academic scientists and the indigenous Inuit experts is really changing how we study and understand them.
It is a totally vital partnership now. Scientists are finally realizing that if you want to know where the bears are denning this year or how the ice conditions have been changing over the last 50 decades, you don't just look at a satellite image. You ask the people who have been walking that exact ice for generations.
Speaking of looking at satellites and studying them, I have a logistical question. How do you study a 1,000-pound predator in minus 40-degree weather without getting eaten?
Very carefully. It is incredibly tricky. For a long time, the main tool for biologists was the satellite tracking collar. You've probably seen pictures of them, the big, thick collar around the bear's neck.
Right, I've seen those on TV.
But here is a genuinely funny fact I found in the technical specs of those tracking studies. Only the female bears can wear those collars.
Wait, why only the females? Do the male bears just not like accessories?
It's purely a geometry problem. Male polar bears have massively thick necks. Their necks are actually wider than their heads.
Oh, I see the problem there.
Yeah, if you put a collar on a male bear, as soon as he tilts his head down, it just slides right off. It's like trying to put a collar on a traffic cone. So for decades, we had all this amazing movement data on female bears and almost nothing on where the males went.
That is a hilarious but very frustrating design flaw in our research.
It really is. But luckily, technology is catching up. Now they have these really cool new tags called burr on fur.
A burr on fur.
It's a small, lightweight tag about the size of a deck of playing cards that just tangles into the bear's fur exactly like a prickly burr you might get on your sock when walking through a field. It stays there for a few months, sends GPS data to a satellite, and then when the bear naturally sheds its winter coat in the summer, the tag just falls off.
That is brilliant. And it sounds much less invasive for the bear, too.
Much better. And then there is what I like to call the CSI method of bear research. It uses environmental DNA, or eDNA.
Okay, you have to explain this. This sounds completely sci-fi to me.
Think about when a polar bear walks across the snow. As it walks, microscopic skin cells shed from the bottom of its paws right into the snowy footprints it leaves behind.
Okay, tracking with you so far.
Scientists can now fly along in a helicopter, find a set of tracks, scoop up a little bit of that snow from the footprint without ever even seeing the bear melt the snow in a lab, and analyze the DNA left behind. They can tell you exactly which individual bear walked there, its gender, and even some health markers.
That is genuinely mind-blowing. We can literally track ghosts in the snow just by the invisible skin cells they leave behind.
It's a total game changer for conservation. It helps us count the populations and check their health without having to tranquilize or bother them at all. And unfortunately, checking their health and counting them is becoming the most important part of this entire story.
Yeah, we really do have to address the reality of their home. We talked so beautifully about the floating garden of ice earlier, but the sad truth is the garden is shrinking.
It is, rapidly. The Arctic is warming up significantly faster than almost anywhere else on Earth. And remember our golden rule, ice is life for the polar bear.
Because if the ice melts, the algae goes, the fish go, the seal goes.
And the bear is left completely stranded. Specifically, the timing and pattern of the ice is changing. The sea ice is melting much earlier in the spring, and it is freezing much later in the fall.
So their prime hunting season is getting shorter and shorter.
Exactly. The bears are forced off the ice and onto the dirt land sooner than they used to be. And when they are stuck on land, remember the calorie math we talked about?
Right, they can't survive on the berries or the geese.
They are essentially fasting. They're living entirely off their stored blubber, their internal batteries. If the ice-free summer is too long, the battery simply runs out before the winter returns. We are already seeing bears having to swim much longer, much more dangerous distances between the shrinking ice floes, which burns up their precious energy reserves even faster.
That sounds incredibly scary for their future. But I really want to focus on their resilience for a moment, too. These animals have survived in the harshest conditions for hundreds of thousands of years.
They are incredibly tough. They are the ultimate survivors. But they are so highly specialized for the ice. The real hope lies in us finally understanding that deep connection.
Right. It's not just about trying to save a bear simply because it's a beautiful or cute animal.
No, not at all. Protecting the polar bear means protecting the sea ice. And protecting the sea ice means taking care of the entire global climate. It's all fundamentally connected. If we can reduce the pollution and emissions that warm the planet, we essentially keep the freezer door closed for them. We keep the ice garden growing.
And if we keep that garden growing, the king of the Arctic gets to keep his throne.
Exactly. It is about preserving an entire magnificent ecosystem at the very top of our world.
This has just been such an incredible exploration. I feel like I have a completely new mental image of this animal now.
Me too. Honestly, even after studying them and reading all these sources, they still manage to surprise me with how perfectly adapted they are.
So let's recap the magic we've uncovered today. When we talk about a polar bear, we aren't talking about a white bear at all. We are talking about a completely transparent, solar-powered bear.
A bear that wears a thick wetsuit of blubber and walks on giant snowshoes equipped with built-in winter tires.
A bear that can smell a hidden ghost under the snow from a kilometer away and waits with the total patience of a statue for a seal to just take a breath.
A magnificent creature that directly connects the tiny microscopic algae growing in the salty ice channels to the vast sweeping rhythms of the global seasons.
It really is the Great White Wanderer.
It is the absolute perfect name for them.
Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure. We really hope you enjoyed this incredible story about the sea bear.
It's been a wonderful journey to share.
Next time you look at a simple ice cube in your drink, I want you to look closely at the little bubbles and cracks hiding inside it. Remember the vast, shifting kingdom of the Nanook and how something as simple as frozen water builds an entire world.
It's a great reminder.
See you next time on Saltwater Stories.